All right, guys, here we are, episode 1, critique my lift, where I had guys and girls send me their workouts or their exercises, and then I'm going to critique their form. And then for some people who want their effort and intensity critiqued, we'll go after that as well. So let's get it. All right, so what better place to start than the squat? Because as I've said before, that's my all-time favorite lift. I have to name something. So we're gonna start here with 2 different squat variations. One by my buddy Larry, and he's using a transformer bar with the front squat setting. Now, we don't have a transformer bar here, and I know a lot of people that are watching this won't, but essentially what he's after is getting a lot of quad activation with that bar setting, and that's why I have the spatter bar here to demonstrate. That's something the closest thing I have here at this gym to really demonstrate. Now, obviously, if you don't have a spatter bar or a safety squat bar, obviously, you just use a barbell front squat, so no different there. And then he's using the prime wedges. So I have a squat wedge here that we're gonna demonstrate, because honestly, when I looked at this form the first time before we came in, I thought that was damn near spot on. So let's take a look together. All right, here we go. He unracks the bar, 3 plates on the transformer bar, heels on the wedges. Here again, just getting more quad activation. Got a belt, which I love. Great depth there, driving the knees over the toes, which is 100% what we want. And he's pumping reps like I always love. Very good work there. Still getting great depth. Very good stuff there. And then rack the bar. So let's take this into practice and actually do it in the rack and show you all the good things he did and then some things I will look to change. All right, so step 1. So Larry, what I'd really recommend is move those wedges a little bit closer so you don't have to walk it out so far. That's just gonna save you some time. I'm a lazy ass bodybuilder and I don't wanna risk falling. So move those wedges just a touch closer, so making it, racking it and unracking it will be a lot easier. So I'm gonna step under the bar here, unrack, one step, and I'm right into place. So with this, he did a very great job of driving the handles down, activating his back, getting good core tightness, squeeze those glutes, and then getting good range of motion and driving our knees over our toes. Since I know for a fact he wants some of his quads to grow, that's our goal with this wedge, and also the front squat setting on the transformer bar. So again, good depth, drive the knees over the toes, and then up, boom. Boom, you notice I'm just sitting down right in that hole. That feels absolutely amazing. Here, bam. Sadly, the only other thing I have to critique here is your spotter. And honestly, I'd have him step in, wrap his hands around your chest, and really push you to get more reps. Like, if I was there with you, we would have gotten 2 to 3, maybe 4 more reps, and that's what's gonna help push that quad growth. Now, I know with that transformer bar, or a spatter bar, or a safety squat bar, and a power rack, it feels very dangerous. But if you have a great spotter, it can really drive the reps up. Because again, I'm gonna get on there, I'm gonna wrap my hands in between your arms and your torso, hands on the chest, and I'm gonna lift you up out of the hole to push more reps. Because honestly, you probably could have gotten 2 or 3 more with minimal help from me, but that few extra reps, if you do that week after week after week, what we think about is, let's say I get you 2 extra reps every single week for a year. That's gonna lead to serious growth. That's 104 reps you lost by not having a quality spotter. Now, maybe that's just a random gym guy and you didn't trust him. If so, I totally get that, because I've been there, but try to get you a good spotter. That's the only other thing. Your form there looked absolutely exceptional. You keep doing that and working your balls off, and I promise you, you're gonna see growth, especially in your quads. Then the last thing is, I don't know what your next set looked like. I would love to see you pull a plate off there and just go to failure and just pump reps like a piston and really blow your quads up and really test your heart. Listen, you've been in the game a long time like me. You know what that Widowmaker sets feel like. That's what's gonna bring the growth, guys. So a Widowmaker set is at least 20 reps of reduced load, just pumping, and it's as hard for your lungs and heart as it is your quads. But that, to me, is what digs out those quads, gives them the roundness and sweep, which really gives me the striations in my quads. That's where that thing that came from for me, is doing those Widowmaker sets after you do your heavy load. All right, guys, here we go. We're gonna demonstrate a spot here with Chad's not quite that much flare. All right, so when he goes down, I'm just gonna put my hands under his chest, we'll squat down together, and then those hard reps, I just help just a little bit. I'm gonna lift him up, and the reason I like my hands on his chest, because if he starts to drift forward, like drift forward a little bit out of the hole, no, out of the hole in this last one. So go all the way down, drift forward, as you squat up, I can pull him back into place. So we go down, he starts to drift forward, bam, pull him right up, and now we're rack. because 9 times out of 10 on a squat, not only will the person start to like dive bomb bottom out of the hole, but they start to lean forward to get on your toes, and that's the worst spot we can be in terms of quad growth, because it's gonna put all that tension on our knees, and it's honestly just dangerous for our lower back. So a good spot, this is a good spotting tip here. Wrap your hand underneath his arms on his chest, almost like a bra, and I'm holding him back towards me, and I'm lifting him up out of the hole for the final few reps. Now we also know, as a spotting tip, we don't want to help so much to where it makes the reps easy. I want to make him work for the reps and really grind those babies. So proper squatting technique for spotting there. All right, person number 2, John. This is one of my clients. We've really been working on his squat technique over the last 1.5 years or so. And he sent me the video here, and honestly, it's so much improved from where it was when he first started sending me these squat videos, but there's still some things we can fix here. So let's take a look together, and I'll kind of talk through what I'm seeing as I'm watching, and I'm gonna get under the bar and actually demonstrate different ways and different things we can do to improve his squat to get more quad growth and activation. Okay. So we can rack the bar, one step. I'm good with that. That was 3 steps, but not bad. Pretty good depth. I'd like to see him go a touch deeper. And then what I'm noticing here is that right foot. I can't see the left foot, but that right ankle is almost collapsing a little bit, which is pulling that right heel off the ground slightly. So let's watch it again. So I'm gonna watch the heels from the beginning. Yeah, so all that's gonna stem from is just improving your ankle mobility. So working dorsal and plantar flexion, so the ability to drive your foot down and drive your foot up. His ankles just look really, really tight there. So the Band-Aid for that would be throwing a squat wedge in there. If you didn't want to do that, or squatting 1 5-pound plates under your heels, that would be a Band-Aid. But to me, I'd want to get to the root of that issue, which is poor ankle mobility, because 9 times out of 10, if I'd be willing to bet, we're gonna see that on the leg press, we're gonna see it on the hack squat, anywhere where he's getting at least 90-degree depth. In these videos, he isn't getting quite 90 degrees on the squat, but anything that's gonna start pushing depth low, I'd be willing to bet you we're gonna see that right side of that heel start to roll off the ground just a bit, and that ankle kind of collapse. So that's something I would definitely wanna work on. If I trained him in person, we would start every single session with ankle mobility to get that warm and loose before we got into the squat. So let me show you how, with this spatter bar, how we would get into the piece and then really begin to work ankle mobility after we're warmed up. So I would honestly start him on a calf. We would do lightweight calf raises and tibia raise. That's what the first thing we do. And then we would do our leg curls, obviously our adductors, and then we would come over to the squat. And let me show you what the first few sets would look like if we really want to loosen his ankles up. And that means we're gonna spend time in the hole. So let me show you some reps. Now, I like his stance. Now, I know some people are gonna say it looks really wide, but for me, you wanna pick the squat stance that feels naturalist to you. Some people like more narrow, some like wider. I don't really like super wide, but I also don't like narrow. If you know something about hip width, my toes are roughly 11 and 1 on the clock. I'm gonna grab this spider bar and pull it to me. Again, he's using the straight bar, so it doesn't really matter about what I'm doing with the bar here. But what I wanna think about here is during my warm-up sets especially, I wanna get down in this hole, and I just wanna sit here and work, loosening my ankles up, driving out with those knees, 1, 2. If you look, I have really good ankle mobility. It's not me bragging, it's just the truth. But when I sink down, if you notice, my feet are super flat. And it doesn't matter, I can sit here for 15, 20 fucking minutes if I needed to. Outside of that, it looked really good. Now, I know he's not doing that for an intensity set. That's just a simple form check. So I like the way he was squatting there. I'd like to see more depth. But again, that stems from ankle mobility. I'd be willing to bet you if he went any lower, his ankles would really collapse. And we do not want to do that. He also has a stiff lower back, which if you're working around that, obviously the more depth you get, that's gonna tend to want to put more stress on your lower back if your ankle mobility is poor. So if you look there at his squat, also, if you're really trying, that squat is more for overall leg growth because he's not really driving his knees over his toes. If he wanted pure quad growth, we want to think about shooting our quads forward to getting essentially leg extension on the reps. So I'm gonna get Chaz the pan to the side, I'm gonna show you that again. First, we're gonna start with the way he's doing, where you're like kind of sitting back. So that's gonna activate a lot of ham and glute. Now, mind me, I typically don't squat this way. So this might look really unnatural because it's really natural for me to drive my knees forward and squat with my quads. But he's sitting back into that very powerlifting style, keeping the knees almost in line with the ankle. So let's show that again. Sit back. And even there, you can see I'm getting a little bit of knee flexion there. Now, if I'm a bodybuilder, I'm squatting for quads. Take a look at what I'm doing here. Knees are forward, and look how far my knees are. My feet are flat on the ground, and that's all quad for me. I don't feel as all my glutes or hamstrings, and then I'm up. That's something else you really have to consider when you're choosing your squat technique and your stance. And when you're doing your reps, really thinking about how I'm taking my knees and where they're traveling. If I'm taking my hips back, that's gonna be hamstring and glute. If I'm taking them a little bit back and my knees are going a little bit over my toes or towards my toes, that's gonna be overall leg. If I'm driving my knees towards my toes and really working that, that's all gonna be a majority of quads. Now, will my hamstrings and glutes still work a little bit? Of course, but those are two very different forms of squat. Now, I will tell you this, in the course of an entire leg session, there's no reason why, let's say you do leg curls, adductors to start, then you get into, let's say we're gonna come over into our barbell squat or a spiral barbell squat. If I know that next I'm gonna get into a hack squat and I'm really gonna bury that thing and drive my knees really far over my toes, it's fine to squat with that wider stance, driving your hips back a little bit, because you don't want a ton of overlap. Where if I'm gonna squat primarily driving my knees a quad movement, my next, let's say leg press, for example, I might use a little bit more wider stance, a little bit higher in the platform to get a little bit more hamstring and glute involved there. Now, will I still get quad on that leg press? 100%. But when I'm thinking about setting up a leg day, if it's an all-around leg session, I have to hit all portions of my leg. Now, if I'm specifically focusing on quads and I do a hamstring glute day later, we do not want to drive our hips back. Not on this day. This day is all about quads, so we gotta maximally work that. So I'd have no problem, say, starting with a leg press, low on the platform, toes out, really working the sweep, then come over to squat, driving knees over toes, go to hack squat, bury that thing, working the quads, and then finish on leg extensions. That'd be a great quad day. So really think about if you have 1 or 2 leg sessions or based upon your current physique. So let's say you have really strong hamstrings and glutes in terms of how big they are. That's gonna dictate what I choose for my quad exercises, where if I'm predominantly quad dominant, I want get some more hamstrings and glutes in there. So again, depends upon your structure, depends on what your goals are and what muscles we want to focus on and grow. All right guys, episode 1 of Critique My Lift is done. Sadly, there wasn't a ton to critique there, but I did feel like I shared some good bits of wisdom there, especially with spotting and little things we can do to make both of those guys get better today or tomorrow. Just keep sending me these videos. I'm gonna keep this series going. I really feel like it's gonna be helpful and beneficial to everyone out there. So if you have an exercise that you don't feel in the right muscle where you should, film it, send it to me, and we'll take a look at it, and we'll get you feeling it and really get you growing in your body going to the next level. Thanks for following along. Chris Edmonds TV. Like, share, subscribe, and make sure you comment below on all the things that we learned from today's video. Thanks, guys.